is my 2021 CRF300L, and I have been doing a lot of interesting modifications of this bike over the last year and a half. I bought this bike originally with the mindset that it was a cheap bike, but a very good platform and could be an excellent bike in this day and age. I mean, a brand new dual sport motorcycle for less than $6,000? Now you'd expect there to be some shortcomings with a bike of that budget of a price, but I still figured, okay, maybe a couple things we do here and there, and it could be a good bike. And I do agree that that is the case. However, I think there are a number of modifications that could be done to this thing by Honda that wouldn't break the bank, would still keep this bike as a budget motorcycle and make it a superb motorcycle. This is not a dream list of absurd things. Oh, Honda, if only you'd put a 450. No. These are all reasonable things that should not change the price of this bike, but would make it way better. Because I believe in this thing. I want it to be good. I've made this one pretty badass, but you know, we've had to do a good bit to it. And some of the stuff that we've had to do could have been handled by Honda from the beginning for no real additional fee to the customer. So I'm going to give you my list of 5 things I think Honda needs to change about this bike to fix it. And we're out here on the road doing this video today. I could have done this in the garage. It is like in the upper 30s right now. But that's boring. I mean, I know the sun is it's kind of gloomy out here, and now we can do fun things like this, you know. So I've got hot wired heated gear on, which actually makes this really tolerable. I got these in medium right now, and this one's in medium. Road work ahead. No shit. Also filming on the Insta360 camera out there. As you can see, it is a whole contraption. We have videos on these as well as the CRF300L. You're seeing, yes, it's highly modified at this point. We run this thing in all sorts of different trims and modes if you're not a normal viewer to the channel, and it's a lot of fun. So I have a good bit of experience with this bike through the modifications we've done to it and the time I've spent in the saddle, if you will. What do people call it, a saddle? I guess that's not that corny. It feels a little corny to me. Anyway, enough blabbing. Let's get into the list. How to fix this bike, Honda. I'm making this video for you guys. I really want someone to see this. Anyway, number 1, it's the kickstand. I know that's a weird thing on the list. You're going to see some of these things are going to be obvious things that you would think you were going to know we're going to talk about, and some of them are different. But you need to hear me out. If you purchase one of these bikes, one of the first things you're going to notice is the kickstand is like oddly too short. The bike will lean too far over on the kickstand from the factory. This seems like a really goofy oversight by Honda, a big manufacturer. It actually means I need to make sure when I go to park this thing, I need to find a hill leaning it the wrong way, you know? Usually that's the opposite of what you do usually with a kickstand. You usually try to find a hill that gives you a little assist sometimes over into the lean. No, this you need to go the other way. And that problem gets even worse if you actually fix the suspension. Spoiler, that's coming up. Once the suspension's fully jacked up, I mean, this thing will actually want to topple itself over. With the stock suspension, if you go to put the kickstand down, it's still so short that it still like hits the ground. You have to kind of like lean it the wrong way to get it on the kickstand. The whole thing's a fucking mess, okay? And here's the thing that's even crazier. Here's how Honda could fix this so easily. Go look in your old catalog, Honda, of parts. Go look at the previous version of this bike, the CRF300L. It has a kickstand that looks like it would bolt right onto this thing. Like the mechanism looks exactly the same, but it's longer. Now in our case, we actually put a T-Rex Racing adjustable kickstand on here. T-Rex Racing, this was their model bike. I let them borrow this thing for a little over a month, and they made a bunch of cool parts for it, which for me, because I have supermoto wheels and enduro wheels, you know, like I'm swapping back and forth. An adjustable kickstand could be really good. You know, these bikes are produced in Thailand, and they love to motard these things and lower them, built because they're shorter people. And it almost makes you wonder, like, did they build the kickstand knowing that a lot of the people over there would be doing that, and that was a popular market for the bike? I can understand making things work for the market, you know, it's going to be the main seller or whatever, right? But you can't make the bike unsafe, Honda. So seriously, we need a longer kickstand, but I'm willing to bet that 250L kickstand will work. I have not actually tested, so I cannot say for sure, but it is cheaper. It could be a gamble you may want to take. Oh, we're gonna have to bump these things up, aren't we? I think we are. Boop, going over the water here. That is the one thing with this hot wired gear. It does require you to sort of manually adjust, you know, the heat level in it. I think some of the really nice high dollar gear will actually do it auto magically. My gloves are like burning up. God, the difference between medium and high is intense. What is this light? Calm down, construction guy. I was running around with my flashers on, and these like high school chicks saw me. Yeah, one of them flashed their cooch at me. No, she didn't. Yeah, it was a good time. What are you saying, you fucked them? You're saying you fucked a bunch of random high school chicks because you had yellow flashers. I mean, you know, like, sometimes things happen. No, I don't fucking believe you. Horsies, number 2, the headlight. We didn't get the LED headlight over here. Oh, here we are checking the house out. I think it's really good. This was my racetrack, damn it. Y'all fucked it all up. How inconsiderate to start building houses where I like to party. If you were following this bike from when it initially was announced and the pictures came out and blah blah blah, you saw the LED headlight. It looked like they took the headlight off the CRF300L. It is slightly different, at least the shroud is. I can't say for the whole thing, but basically it's the 450L RL, whatever they're calling it now, headlight. By the way, what's some goofy marketing shit is that like it used to be the Honda CRF450L, okay, and then they were like, let's do it's the RL, it's the RL, because people are like, I want the fucking the fast one, but I want to be street legal. The LED headlight would make sense. Everything's kind of moving that way now. This is a brand new model. It's an evolution of the old one, but I mean, it is technically a new frame, a new engine, all kinds of things. Holy shit, they got cops out here and ambulances and all kinds of shit going on. Damn, he's back in the ambulance down there. Ooh. Damn, they pull a fucking body out. I don't see the coroner out here. They're pulling somebody out. They ain't dead. They just might have fell in the water, got hurt. Damn, that's like a straight up rescue boat though. Dream ship, holy shit. That's a fucking balloon thing. Did a balloon go down in the fucking water? Damn, I hope everyone got out of that. I'll see if I can see a balloon out there like floating half in the water. Did a balloon go down in the water?
No, it's not in the water. It was just a safe landing. It just landed in a place that's not
shallow and
by road.
Yeah, okay. Everyone's good though?
Oh yeah.
Did they get the balloon?
We'll get it later.
We'll get it later.
Yeah, we'll probably have to get a helicopter flying out. Take it easy.
A real one. You didn't catch that. They didn't land in the water. They just landed somewhere probably kind of close to it. And there wasn't a real way out, so they had to get pulled out like that. Pretty wild. Well, damn, I'm glad I didn't come around here like doing some real crazy shit. I cranked up a few little baby wheelies. I'm sure they heard that. All right, the LED headlight. Sorry. Hey, that was pretty wild, right? We had to take a look at that. The LED headlight that we were promised we were going to get, we didn't get. And the weird thing was they threw it on in other markets. To be fair, this is one of those items that if we start putting it on there, the price might go up a little bit. The kickstand is like not really, right? Like what, maybe a couple bucks in material. The LED headlight would add a couple bucks, but it's kind of silly that we didn't get it on our American versions, and I think the UK versions and some other countries didn't get it. It's like, it literally makes the bike look dated. I mean, it's got, you know, it's fancy new looking plastics, and it's got the new 300 motor, which has actually been around for a while. It's not really a 300 motor, but regardless, it's got the new motor. It's got some good upgrades all around, and then you slap that headlight on it, and it just makes it look dated and just, It's not the end of the world. It's just one of those annoying things. Now, we fixed it on ours, but it's not exactly cheap nor easy to do what we did. I do think you could copy what I did in the videos, like to make the bracket behind and then just put a different LED headlight on if you don't want to buy this real expensive one. Or I even thought of thinking maybe doing two Baja Designs S1s. One setup is low beam, one is a high beam. And if you really want, you could run a diode in there so that they both come on in the high beam mode. There's ideas like that too, and you would still have fucking great headlight over stock. I mean, this headlight is insane. We have all the light now. But yes, the LED headlight, we need to throw it on here. You're late, buddy, you missed the party. Anybody old school viewers remember this little farm right here? Stephanie's gone. Y'all told me to name her Stefan originally, which I think was a PewDiePie thing, and then it turned out it was a girl, so we changed it to Stephanie. But Stephanie's gone now. I don't know who owns this farm anymore, but all those animals are gone. It is sad, and I cry about it every day. Anyway, LED headlight. We need it, Honda. Moving on, number 3 is the air filter air box situation on this bike. Again, I know you might be thinking, Jake, I'm not following you. This isn't going to be something that stopped me from buying it or enjoying it. Just hang on. Let me first explain to you the procedure of getting to this air box on this bike. You have to remove the seat, then you need to remove a side panel. Then you need to remove, it's like 5 or 6 little sheet metal style screws. Those are meant to be reused again and again into plastic. Pop off the door, and then undo some clips and pull out your paper element filter. Annoying, to say the least. On a dirt bike, dual sport thing like this, it's pretty universal that the air filter can be gotten to toolless, one, no tools, you can pop off the door and get to it, because that is needed sometimes. You know, we're going through muddy, watery conditions. You need to sometimes be able to do that. And then number 2, the filter is serviceable because it's a foam style filter. This is very backwards of what we have on our CRF. You can't quickly access it, you can't quickly clean it, and also, to be quite honest, the whole sheet metal screws are a pretty crap idea. I mean, like, I always do my best to sort of turn them backwards and refine the previous threads, but can we really not have done better with that? Let me show you what we're looking at here. What do you want? That's good for you, Bubs. I don't care. I'm not going that way. I'm just stopping here, man. So this is the panel in question, right? And here's how you could fix it. I know initially it's going to sound like it's going to cost more money, Honda, but hear me out, because there's going to be a little give and take with this, okay? You pop this off, right? And right behind it is the door. So we just make this plastic panel. We give it maybe like 2 or 3 of those like little half twisters, right? So we can pull this off quickly. We need to add a border in here that meets with a seal in the air box, right? We don't have to change the air box. See, you only have to change this. And we don't have to build the air box door anymore. This is the only real part that has to change. We can still keep the air box the way it is. Just make the paper element filter that comes out a foam filter. We changed ours to a foam filter through modifications and upgrades, but that's really obnoxious. It should just be that way. We could make it where we pull it off, boom, there's a filter, I pull it out, I clean it, I put it back, whatever. I get a spare one. I have a spare one in the house so that when it's muddy and dirty, I pop my other one in. That gives me time to clean the other one. It's one of those things where you just look at it and you go, that's easily fixable. And it would make it, let's be honest, like a real dirt bike. It'd be something we could service again and again and again. Right now, it's like some silly shit it feels like a street bike dressed up in dirt bike clothing, which it's not. I hate when people say that, because look at the elements of what this is. I mean, right now it's a supermoto trim. It's a little weird, but you'd have a 21/18 wheel combo. You have over 10 inches of travel. It'd be nice if it was a little more, but 10's plenty. I know it's probably something a lot of y'all weren't considering, but I think it would help. Number 4 is the motor. This was the thing with the old 250L. Wasn't a bad little bike. It just felt really soft to me with that engine, like really soft. When you heard they were putting the CBR motor in this thing, nothing to get crazy excited about, but if you look up like dynos, for instance, of like stock CBR300s, they end up making like, I think like almost 27 horsepower at the wheel. If you can compare it to bikes like the WR250R, I think those are around 24 to 25 at the wheel. So it's like, hell, we got more. And you know, it's like, this should be good. We should be winning. And to know you would start there, it means, okay, you throw a pipe on it, you throw a tune, a reliable 30 horsepower should be very reasonable. And 30 on a dual sport bike like this with like huge long-term maintenance intervals and things like that is honestly great. Anyways, the point is, we didn't get that engine. They did several things to this engine that just made it a little bit too mellow. Here are some things they could have changed from the factory that wouldn't cost them any money to make this engine a little bit better. One, the CBR cams. Now, we swapped them in here, and I mean, it only cost me, I think, $80 for the set of cams, which is pretty unbelievable. They're that cheap. And they are going to give you a little bump in power. And with those cams, we picked up a ton of bottom end. We didn't pick up almost any top end, and I think that's because of the snorkel, which we've also changed out now. The CRF snorkel versus the CBR snorkel is pretty significantly different, and the CBR one definitely makes a lot more power. I'm sure there's plenty of people watching this going, do you really need more power? It's not that you need a whole lot more, you just need a little bit of snap. Swap the cams, swap the air boot, and it makes this bike way better. Still completely reasonable for any new rider. It's not like overly hardcore. By the way, there's a lot of different things we're referencing that we've done to this bike throughout this video, and a lot of that stuff can be found in our build series on this bike playlist. So basically, the short of it is we need a little bump in power, and it shouldn't cost Honda any money. And then finally, number 5. You probably know what number 5 is if you know anything about this bike. But we gotta say it anyway, and that is the suspension. The suspension on this thing stock is so soft. It's unbelievably soft. I don't know what the reasoning is for the suspension being that soft, but I kind of, again, sort of suspect maybe just a little bit does have to do with that Thai market we were talking about before. They sell a lot of bikes there. They build them there. If someone was like, hey, you know, make them springs like this, they may have made them like this. You never know. It actually is sprung for a negative weight rider, and I mean that because forget static sag. Its general sag from its own weight is too high. When you pull this thing off kickstand, about 1/3 of the suspension is eaten up, especially in the rear, by its own weight. Literally, its own weight is doing that. Now, I will say, if you plan to buy this bike and, you know, you're going, oh, is the suspension going to be a big deal? Look, if your goal is just to cruise around, just on light trails, not hauling ass, not trying to do anything wild, you'd probably be all right. Again, just like everything on this bike, we have, you know, we've upgraded it. Full race tech shock in the rear. You can see the reservoir right here, piggyback, whatever you want to call it. And yes, this is where you're supposed to mount it. I always get people say, shouldn't mount it there, it's going to get too hot from the engine and won't work right. They're filled with nitrogen. Most of these from the factory sit directly above the exhaust, and this is where they actually want you to mount it. I didn't just make that place up. That tab is meant to hold it right there on the engine. And we've thrown some springs and voweling in the front forks. Like, if you want to spring and vowel them for the Asian markets the way they are, sure, whatever, but would it really be that big a deal if on the assembly line we had two different versions of the suspension, European and American markets, right? Both the Americas, North and South, Australia, places where we ain't little people. All they would have to do is basically add to their assembly line suspension A and suspension B. Suspension A is the normal suspension. Suspension B, the big boy suspension. And it's just going to have a little bit stiffer rated springs, a little bit heavier voweling. Hell, you could just literally throw a thicker weight oil in if you wanted to do it like the caveman way, and that would work. But this is something, again, from Honda's standpoint, I don't see it costing them any real significant money, and it would make the bike so much better right out the gate. And that's it. That's my list of 5 items. You do those 5 items, Honda, and you know what's going to happen? Like, are you going to sell a million more of these things? I don't know. I'd be more willing to recommend it. You know, right now, if someone's like, should I get the 300L? I'm like, oh, it's a great little bike. Just consider what it really does good, and if you wanted to make it do better, you can, but you're gonna have to throw some money at it. The condition mine's in right now, I love it. I think it's a great little bike, but, you know, it requires some work. I guarantee you a number of those items I mentioned, maybe not all of them, some of those are more niche things you would know after buying it, but some of them will turn people off. I mean, I think there's a lot of people who've seen reviews and they say, it's just way too soft, you know? Like, I was listening to High Side, Low Side the other day podcast, and what's his name? Spurgeon was basically saying this is a short street bike that can do like a little bit of off-roading or something. Like, pretty well shitted on this thing pretty bad. And I was like, come on, it's not that bad. But I guess in stock trim it is. And I think if they made those little upgrades, little changes, people like him would review it better. You know, people that, you know, review these bikes and give us opinions that we all base opinions off of and then make decisions and buy things and blah, blah, blah. What do you think? If you own this bike, what do you think they need to change? Or if you're in the potential buyer, what's stopping you from buying one of these bikes? What's something that they would need to change to make you go, yeah, I'll pull the trigger on that? And if not either one of those, what would you like to see in the market, in the industry? Let me know. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye. Woo!